Hello and welcome. I'm Michaela Silverthorne, and today I'm going to be making a video specifically for parents of kids who are identifying as transgender. So if you haven't watched my previous videos, I'm going to briefly just explain that I am somebody who was born female and I underwent transgender masculinizing hormones, first taken on my 18th birthday. And I did that for about 4 years and been off of it for like 2.5 years now. And I completely stopped transitioning. I've also had surgery on my chest. I did not do any genital stuff, surgeries related to that, or facial surgeries or any other surgeries. It was just my chest and hormones. And let me tell you, I looked like a man. And I still grow facial hair, as you can see. Still have a deep voice. And it's because of my experience that I've been making these videos. So, having gone through my experience, and I feel like I can help guide parents on finding the right thing to do for your kids who are identifying as transgender. The first message I want to make very clear is that you need to make sure your kid knows that you love them. Like, if you want to be able to talk to your kid and connect to your kid, the first thing you should do as a parent is make sure your kid knows that they are loved. Do you hug your child? Do you tell them you appreciate them and that you love them? Do you spend time with them? Do you make effort to spend time with them? Or do they always have to come to you and ask you? It's really important that you have a healthy relationship with your child and that you as the parent are putting in effort and showing your kid that you do love them. Oftentimes when kids are transitioning, they're seeking love, they're seeking validation. And one thing you can do right now is make sure your child is loved and is cared for. And that's really advice for any parent, no matter what your kid is going through. Your kid can have a much more positive mindset if they feel that they are loved. All right, let's get into what do I do if my kid is transgender? The first thing that I have thought about is when I transitioned, when I was coming out to my parents and telling them that, hey, I think I'm a man in a woman's body, I had so much fear, adrenaline coursing through my veins. I was anxious, I was nervous, I was worried that they wouldn't understand, that they would kick me out, that they wouldn't like me anymore, that they would ridicule me or tell me that I couldn't do what I wanted to do. Right? I was worried about every single possible way things could go wrong. And I'm sure all, if not most, people coming out to their parents as transgender can relate to that. You feel very anxious and very nervous, and it's really hard to come out and talk about it. And so as a parent, you should be very aware of your child being in this state. When they come to you, they're in a very vulnerable state. And I recommend trying not to have too extreme of a reaction. When you just blow up and get angry at your kid, or if you have this humongous meltdown, it's going to make everything that much harder for you and your child. And the best thing you can do when they first come out to you is be like, okay, all right, maybe ask them why they feel that way. Just talk with them, get to know what they're feeling, what they're going through. Try to understand your kid as best you can. That is my tip number one. It's just try to understand what they're going through as best you can. Maybe even ask, like, so where did you learn about being transgender? If it's through videos, can I see those videos to help me understand what you're going through? It's okay to ask your child to, like, explain things to you. Be like, okay, can you show me what you're going through? Can you explain it to me and help me understand so that you can see the bigger picture here? It's hard to know what to do if you don't know the whole picture going on, if you only know the face value of this whole thing. And now, my second piece of advice is that you don't have to agree. You don't have to agree with what your child wants to do. You don't have to be like, okay, well, socially, I'm supposed to just let my child do whatever they want when it comes to this, or I'm a bad person. But at the end of the day, you are their parent. If I had a child and they came up to me and they told me, hey mom, I want to cut off my penis, I am not going to encourage that. I'm not going to be okay with it. I'm going to be like, look, let's talk about why you want to do this and get to the root of the problem here. And I'm going to do whatever I can to try and help you feel better. Right? Come at your kid, if they are transgender, with positivity. That is something that is really important. If your kid is stressed, they're anxious, they're depressed, they're struggling, coming at them with anger, with raging questions is not going to help. When I say ask questions, I mean in a calm, kind manner, just curious, wanting to know. Not a stressed out kind of way. It's really important that you treat your kid with sensitivity because they are in a very sensitive state. And that is why they are coming out to you with this. And what your child is really needing is to feel seen, to feel valued, to feel heard. They want to be themselves. That is what they're seeking when they're telling you that they're transgender. They want to be validated, to be heard, to be understood and seen, and to be themselves. And if your child wants to dress more like the opposite sex, I don't think we should have a problem with that. I think if you have a son who wants to wear makeup, there's no issue with that. Okay? You should let your child express themselves however they want, and that shouldn't be an issue. And so when it comes to them expressing themselves, they want to go by a different name. I personally think that we should encourage that type of thing. Be like, okay, if you want to go by a different name, it's your life. Like, you should be allowed to make that choice. If you want a legal name change, then let's do this for a few years before we do anything like drastic like that. And if your child's coming to you and they want to do physical things, that's another story, right? If my child comes up to me and they want to start taking hormones, I think it's important that you first educate yourself on what exactly that's going to be doing to your child. How are these hormones going to affect their body? And I wish it was easier to research this thing. But in my opinion, hormones are steroids. I don't like the idea of my child taking a steroid. I don't like the idea of my child taking this thing that could affect their fertility for the rest of their life. And if they haven't gone through puberty and they take puberty blockers, they will not be able to have children. As a prepubescent child, you should not be making such a big decision. And it's okay to have these conversations with your kid of like, hey, I really don't feel comfortable with you doing this stuff right now. And I would love if we could wait a few years, talk things out, talk to a therapist before making any big rash decisions. I think it's really important that you make sure your kid is feeling heard, feeling validated, feeling seen. But as a parent, you still need to stand your ground and be like, hey, if you're asking to do something that I think is harming you, you're allowed to say no. It doesn't make you a bad person if you don't agree with it, if it feels wrong. And if your child grows up and they still go through with these things after they're out of your house and out of your care, you should still love them at the end of the day. If I had a child and they transitioned as an adult when they were out of my house, I wouldn't hate them. I wouldn't hold it against them. I would still love them as my child no matter what. Because that is something that is so important. Even if my kid is in prison because they killed somebody, I would still love them. I would feel hurt that they did such a thing, but love is not something that can just be broken, right? When you love your child, you love them no matter what. It's very important that your child knows this and that you show them this. A lot of times parents think their child knows this and they really don't. It a lot of times can appear that a parent loves work more than a child. A parent loves this or that or their girlfriends or whatever more than a child. And just saying it is such a big deal. Just hugging your kid is such a big deal. Making sure they feel seen is such a big deal. So I'm making this video basically to tell parents that, hey, you don't have to let your kid transition, to be kind and caring and loving to them. You don't have to be okay with it. You don't have to go along with this thing that is becoming societally normal to do. You can still love your child and want to protect them. I know what it's like to have removed my breasts and be like, well, how do I feed a child now? And I don't want my kids going through that. It's okay to really think about it, to research it and say, hey, that's not something that we're going to do. I'm not going to help you take hormones. I'm not going to help you have surgeries to remove body parts of yours. And it's also okay to have a conversation with your child about, why do you want to pursue this? What is making you uncomfortable? And if your child doesn't want to talk to you about it, again, I would recommend a therapist. Just having someone for them to talk about this stuff with is very, very important. At the end of the day, whether you believe in transgender stuff or not, if your child is coming out as transgender, they do need help. We can all agree on that. Your child needs some sort of assistance. They're going through something painful, and they need to feel heard, seen, and validated. So that is my brief advice on what should I do if my kid is transgender? What should I do if my kid comes out as transgender? Don't freak out. Love your kid at the end of the day. And I personally was very lucky that my parents did not kick me out. They did not shame me or ridicule me. My dad just wanted to know what it was, what I was going through. And they were a little more standoffish, like, yeah, I don't want to help you too much. And I paid for my surgery. I did not have my parents pay for that. They did help me in little ways here and there. But if you're not okay with what your child's doing, you don't have to help them do this, right? I don't think it's good to shame your child or belittle them if you don't agree with them doing this. But it's also not a bad thing if you think that they're being manipulated. If you think that it doesn't follow your beliefs. I'm not really sure how else to put it. Like, if it doesn't feel right, And I don't mean in your head. I mean like you intuitively know that something about this is not right. It's okay to acknowledge that. And people should not be making rash decisions about this. That's something we should all agree on, is that nobody should be making life-changing decisions overnight. Allow your kid to be heard, seen, and talk to someone. Now, if you are a parent of a transgender child, thank you for watching this. And I do want to, I almost forgot about this part. So if your kid has already transitioned, it's okay to feel like you've lost them. I know a lot of parents will say that they feel like their child has died and been reborn in a way, right? You feel like you lost a daughter and now you have a son, or vice versa. And I can get that. It's very painful. It can be really hard. And again, you don't have to agree with what your child's doing, but just loving them is the most important thing to do as a parent. It's the most important thing a parent can do for their child, is love them. So I hope this video helps you. And if you have more questions, please leave me a comment, and also make sure it's coherent so I can answer it. There's been a lot of comments on my channel that I cannot answer because I'm like, I don't even know what you're trying to tell me. I'm sorry if you just don't speak fluent English, or if you just didn't read it before you posted it. I don't know. But please make sure your comments are legible. And have a beautiful, wonderful, amazing day.